Welcome back, everybody, to the North Central Washington MVP Interview Series, brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. I'm your host, Carrie Horning, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. Our goal today is simple: to introduce our community partners throughout North Central Washington to one another, and a win looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the work that's being done throughout our region. So grab your lunch, sit back, and get ready for an extra dose of professional nourishment. Today's most valuable partner is Mel Clark, President and CEO of Cleantech Alliance. Welcome, Mel, and thank you so much for being our most valuable partner today. And you're also the closer this season on a session that's highlighted clean energy. So thank you very much for being here.
That's great. I'm so excited that you've been talking about clean energy the whole season.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let me do a quick little introduction and then we'll jump right in. So Mel is no doubt passionate about her work, which has taken her to many countries across the globe, including a trip next week to Poland. That's super cool. I'm a traveler as well. She's a lifelong learner, has many talents. One she shared with me yesterday that involves the theme song to Gilligan's Island and Amazing Grace. Which I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into, but we've got a lot to cover today. So I'll just say that I actually Googled it after we were speaking yesterday, and there's a whole thing on it. So if you want to learn more, you can check it out on Reddit. And Mel, that might be a whole nother episode for us to do in the future, just for fun.
Yeah, we should do like clean energy leaders, stupid party tricks just for entertainment.
You know what? I'm all in on that one. So let's dial back to that. All right. So you ready to kick this off?
You bet.
All right, let's go. So say we just met at a dinner party. How would you explain the Cleantech Alliance to me?
Sure, and I get to do this several times a week, and I'll be at a dinner party this evening doing exactly this. So
Nice.
the Cleantech Alliance is a pretty traditional industry trade association. We exist to serve our members and help them grow their businesses. But the members we focus on are a little less traditional. It's clean energy and clean technology. So we have about 1,000 members in 17 states and 4 provinces. We're the largest trade association that focuses on these industries in the world, but our industries are also very broad. And on any given day, I'll talk about everything from fusion energy to cow poop. And I like
Wow.
to say there's a lot of space on the Mobius strip between those two technologies. So
Yeah.
a lot of mental gymnastics to get through my day as we work with so many different kinds of technology and so many different sizes of companies, from a startup who's just bootstrapping out of her basement to companies the size of Mitsubishi and Boeing.
Wow. That's amazing. So I have to dial back to the whole cow poop thing because that's a reality here, right? In our area. I'm in North Central Washington. We do actually have some very good family friends, business partners that deal with that. Can you actually, and this is unscripted, dive in a little bit deeper to tell us what that is in clean energy?
You bet. So for clean technology, that's anything that uses fewer or better inputs or produces fewer or better outputs. And that better might be someone's taking it and using it. So biodigesters that help process cow poop, or organic systems, worm beds that reduce the methane emission, things that might help turn that into a more useful fertilizer, is not only a little better for our environment and for the planet, it also can create an income stream for that farmer or rancher. And so we love to see those stacking and layering of benefits.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. That's happening every day right here in North Central Washington, and I'm sure it's happening in everywhere agriculturally. I know personally, we will plant, or my husband and his brother and the farm, they'll plant arugula and mustard ahead of a certain crop, and then till that in, and it's a natural fumigant. So this is terrific.
Right. And we like to see, we like to lean into some of the science and some of the science differences. Very wet climate dairies and very dry climate dairies, and you're sort of on the midpoint there somewhere, will have different systems that are more effective based on where they are. We're talking to dairies or agricultural processing entities about the amount of hot water that they use to clean their equipment, and how there can be systems that can capture that heat out of the hot water and turn that into energy to reduce their overall cost. We are
Yeah.
intending to do a feasibility study on a system exactly like that in January, as we free up some funding that's currently waiting on the election to let us do those feasibility studies, taking some of these waste heat systems that are under very large businesses and downtown cores and helping understand them, how to use them in a mid-sized community or even in a smaller setting to help those scale. And then we intend to create toolkits for implementation to help communities understand what kind of project team to bring together, how to finance the projects, and actually get these systems built. It's a technology that's ready, it works today, it can benefit communities. So everything we do is not the science fiction energy of the future. There's really simple, down to earth or down to waste projects that we can roll out right now.
So good. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Okay, so the Cleantech Alliance is all about accelerating clean technology adoption. What's one tech or initiative that you're most excited about right now that we might be seeing in our daily lives pretty soon? Which we actually kind of already talked about one, but is there, is there more out there that is kind of getting you excited right now?
There's so much, and we could spend hours on this. But things that we'll see happening across the state are some hydrogen production, and hydrogen will be useful to help reduce fumes and decarbonization for some heavy transportation. Hydrogen systems are going to create a lot of jobs for pipe fitters, for chemists. It may help to ease financial burden on drayage truckers, which tend to be some of the lowest income workers in the shipping industry. So lots of impacts on jobs and communities from this hydrogen economy that the globe is starting to stand up. We have a lot going on, and you probably know this well, in advanced battery chemistry and in sustainable aviation fuel in the state. And those projects have been attractive here to Washington because of our hydropower. The downstream customers in the automotive industry say, hey, you better keep your carbon emissions low. So that's making our region very attractive to do some of these new factories and new chemistries. And those will employ construction workers and chemists and people that are being displaced from oil and gas industry working in those chemistry fields. So from chemical engineers to plant operators to drivers to receptionists and mail clerks, all of these jobs are going to come to communities that are building those facilities. So hydrogen batteries, we're super excited about. We're also incredibly excited about carbon, carbon capture, storage, sequestration underground, or utilization and turning it into materials, as well as companies that are using ag tech and agricultural solutions to grow a carbon sequestering material and then make a more advanced material that's a little better all around. So this is going to bring those dense urban environments together with agricultural communities and create new economic opportunity across the globe. And we have companies in the region working on insulation, resins that coat skateboards or glues that go in industrial flooring. We have companies working on new kinds of timber materials that are less energy intensive to produce than steel, and it moves some of that manufacturing possibility to more rural and agricultural communities instead of just the big steel plant. So that's a really exciting project. We're launching a brand new project on Friday, funded by the SBA, to do exactly that. We call it WECAN, the Washington Energy Carbon Activation Network, and it's about bringing all this small business and community opportunity to this sector that's going to be rolling out across the globe. And of course, fusion energy that I mentioned at the beginning, we just finished our 4th annual Seattle Fusion Week. We had attendees from across the country and globe coming to learn about the 7 and growing number of fusion companies here in Washington that are working on fusion energy and fusion supply chain. We have more fusion companies here in Washington than anywhere else in the world in one spot. So we're poised to be one of the global leaders for a really abundant emission-free energy, very energy dense. And when that is ready, and we expect we're going to see the first fusion factory in the world begin construction in Central Washington in 2028. So you're going to be right in the center of the birthplace of the most energy intensive, planet-changing energy the globe has ever had.
I think it's amazing. I mean, first of all, I love that you are the closer for this session with all the clean energy, because we've already talked to, a bunch of these companies, and I'll kind of get into that in the next question. But But you're right. I mean, we're going to, and we're on the cusp of it right now. So to be sharing this information out, learning more by interviewing you today, it's so exciting to me. We're career connected learning, right? We're trying to make those connections for our students to the careers that are out here, and the growth is just phenomenal. So anyways, I'm so glad you're here. So let's move on to the next one. So we've spoken with local innovators already. I just was mentioning that. We've talked to Sela Nano, Group 14, RAC. What role does the Cleantech Alliance play in supporting companies just like that here in places like Moses Lake and Central Washington?
Sure. Several of those companies are on my board. So
Oh,
we work pretty closely with those. Group 14's R&D facility over here on the west side is about 6 miles from my house. So we talk to them quite a bit. But when we work with these companies, we're helping solve a challenge that maybe one company can't solve itself. And so we are ensuring that we're trying to keep the entire region's focus on the need for more energy generation and energy transmission for those facilities. We are helping to educate other nonprofits, environmental organizations, other trade associations about what's happening within that sector, so they're aware of what's coming. We're working with other accelerators that are connecting to other battery startups that might be off takers of some of those materials to help round out and develop the ecosystem. We're submitting grant applications in collaboration with those companies, with local community education facilities, and universities to go after large troughs of federal funding to continue to incentivize. In some cases, those federal grant opportunities require that not a single company be the lead applicant. So that's where the Cleantech Alliance can work with our partners and stand in as that amalgamator or that glue to bring that sector together. We do a lot of advocacy, a little bit of lobbying, a lot of policy development for these sectors, but it's our job to lean into what our members need, not to have them chase us. So we like to come into a community, we like to work with the company, we like to understand what the challenges are. When you're trying to launch 3 to 4 new factories in a community, that's going to change a lot of things. It's going to make a lot of jobs, it's going to make a lot of opportunity, but everything else changes. Housing transmission, grocery store shelves. When you see a boom in a community, then you see some good paying jobs come. You also see the need for more hairdressers and restaurants and waitresses. And so the changes of this economic development lens will trickle through those communities for quite a while. And so
oh.
trying to bring those far-reaching effect conversations closer into the now is another way we like to partner with other local chambers, economic development groups, state electeds when we're talking to them. And we have the ability to sit in a room and instead of saying, I, company trying to make money, need this, we're able to say, well, gosh, we've talked with the 5 or 6 companies there, and generally we hear they're all concerned about, and it adds a little weight to it and it helps move the needle forward. It's a little fuzzy how we work in some ways, but it's that ecosystem connection that makes a difference.
Yeah, I like fuzzy, and I like the conversation of multiple companies kind of on that same page, because we just had this conversation in a meeting yesterday. This is going to affect childcare, transportation, all the things, and those are the things that we need to be focused on. Even here at Career Connected Learning, we're talking about our reach is K to 12, where we're really focusing on those students, but oftentimes the greatest need is even before K, before they get into kindergarten. And transportation is a real deal out here because we're so removed and remote from everything. So I love that these conversations are happening, and I love that it's it's the whole big picture. It's not just, like you said, one company, one profit base. It is an entire community and the grouping of companies. And that's the other thing about our area here in North Central Washington. We have such a wide base, the clean energy, obviously, but we've got aviation and aerospace, manufacturing, food processing, hospitality, healthcare. We really are in a bit of a boom over here. Agriculture's the economy is a little tough right now for ag, but we see these ups and downs, and I have no doubt it'll come back around. But I love having the support that we're not a one economy area any longer. So
Right, and that can really strengthen a community long term, but there are processes to go through and hiccups along the way. We like to say that every company is a clean tech company, they just don't know it yet. And as more clean technology solutions roll out that affect agriculture, all facets of manufacturing, that's becoming increasingly aware. You're either producing a clean tech solution or you're needing to acquire it. And so we try and get in the rooms to help make that happen. And to your point about agriculture and things being hard, I was raised in rural Kansas, so I
Yes.
do kind of have a passion for an agricultural based community and then one facing change, right? And that's a lot to wade through very carefully because gosh, feeding America is kind of an important first industry. We gotta keep
Yeah.
that strong.
Yeah, feeding America and really feeding the world. That we have so many exports here. It's incredible. The more I've learned about this industry in this area, it's just shocking to me. Where all of our products are going, and that's one thing we like to tell the students. Like, you might love it here and never want to leave, and you don't have to with all the career opportunities. However, many of these companies are international, so you could be from Quincy, Washington, or Alfredo, Washington, or Moses Lake, or Soap Lake, and find yourself working in Germany or Japan or China or wherever. I mean, it's just amazing. So that's exciting. All right. So when people think about clean energy and clean tech, they might be thinking about some of the earlier interviews and conversations we've had with solar panels or carbon capture or electric cars. What's something surprising about the clean tech industry that most people might not realize?
Oh gosh, well, I think we've touched on it a little bit with cow poop and agricultural
That's true.
manufacturing. I think it's important to understand that clean tech is all hyper-local. We can have big goals for huge energy projects and nationwide transformation of our grid, but that work has to happen somewhere. That has to happen in a real factory producing a new widget that goes on the grid, or it has to happen in electrician union training programs where they're adding, awareness of how to work with new smart panels. We need to understand that the majority of our construction jobs are going to become clean energy and clean tech jobs. There's going to be an upskilling. In the past, when an HVAC mechanic needed to walk up and whack something with a wrench, now she's going to need to walk up and program something on her data pad to talk to that system. So there is a tech upskilling, and this is fantastic for young people because so often when people I've worked with throughout my nonprofit career, and someone's like, "Oh my gosh, my phone," maybe an older board member, "I don't know how to get this thing on my phone." I'm like, just give it to your granddaughter. She'll just do
Yes.
it. Right.
Yeah.
And so this
Yeah.
this upskilling that we know our younger students and our younger workers just breathe technology in a way that maybe our last generation of workers never got on board with. And so that tech coming across all jobs is great. So get some tech skills because
Yeah.
all your boots on the ground technician worker skills are going to need a little more of them. And they're all going to have the opportunity to touch these clean energy and these clean tech projects a little bit more. So if you want to work on climate, or you want to work on preserving your environment, or you want to work on making sure that farmland stays productive for 3 more generations, a little bit more tech skills and clean tech is actually the way to go.
Yeah, we talk about that with our students too, about how to be prepared. And so that's great advice. Oftentimes we're telling them you might not have a specific interest in Microsoft Excel or things like that, but most jobs are going to need that. Even if you don't really, think you're going to pursue computer science, take a couple classes, really round yourself out. And my big conversation right now with students when I'm in front of them is, it's free right now. And when you're in high school, K through 12, it is free. So, and so many of our regional school districts have amazing CTE programs. They all do, really. And if they don't, that we're working on helping them get there. One of my colleagues, that's her focus, and she's phenomenal. So, for the students to know that they can get these certifications right now in school while it's free, that's just a great little reminder to bring that home. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for talking about that. So,
One computer science class, even if you never want to work in the field, teaches you a different way to think about tackling a project or a problem, right?
yeah, yeah,
Really, what I want to tell your students is everyone should go become an engineer.
yeah,
We're going to need a lot of engineers. But if you don't want to become an engineer, think about a trade and a technician, because that will affect communities and these factories and these projects and the things we need to build and install. We're going to have to build and install a lot of things. One thing that might surprise people about clean technology is the amount of mining and extraction we still have to do, and that's very polluting. But we're going to have to pull a lot of things out of the ground to
Yeah.
build everything we need to build to transform a whole economy. And so getting into cleaner mining techniques, these huge hydrogen fuel cell trucks that will help mining not be as polluting. There are lots of little things underway, but it's not just all roses and buttercups and 100% pristine tree hugging.
Yeah.
There's some uncomfortable challenges we're going to have to lean into and some choices to make. At the same time, we're trying to mitigate and do those in a less harmful way. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of change coming to our land across the country in order
Yeah.
to achieve these projects.
Can you go a little deeper and tell us more about that? What might that look like?
Well, there's a lot of need to bring critical minerals out of the ground. And these are critical rare earth minerals, not because they're only located in like one spot, but because they're hard to get out of the ground. They're a very tiny, tiny percentage. And so we have mines across the West that can pull some of these materials out. Antimony is an example. It's used in the ball bearings of wind turbines. It's a rare earth mineral. And many times for these rare earth minerals, the only place in the world where the mining is currently going on is China or other countries that are less aware of environmental protections per se. And so there's a balance that we have to find of how do we open up more mines to go after these minerals, but how do we do it with people that aren't used to having that activity in their backyards anymore? And how do we do it in the cleanest way possible? So there's a lot of groups and mining associations and other clean tech focused groups like mine that are working on those kinds of challenges. But we have to be aware we're not going to get from point A to point B without going through, I think you mentioned disruption a little bit sooner, right? So there will be more mining jobs in America. There will be more manufacturing and extraction jobs in America. There will be more import and export and trade activity across the globe as some countries do more of that mining than others. And there will be the need to learn as a community. Well, this mine might be opening up near us. There's a couple of sites in Idaho I'm aware of. So what does that mean? And how do we mitigate that? And how do we work with tribal partners and sovereign nations to hit that balance? So there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations, you know, so there's a lot of business development and MBA jobs that are going to be coming to clean technology as well to lead and lean into these kinds of projects.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I want every single educator in our region to watch this. Well, beyond our region, but that's my focus. So that's really good information, really good information. And I think, we hear all about clean energy, renewable energy happening around us, and we're seeing the changes on the roads with the EV cars and whatnot. But to get this type of information is invaluable. So yeah, thank you for sharing this all. So okay, I want to keep asking a few more questions here. And also be respectful of our time. But so what's one thing that we could all do today, even here in our little small towns, or even just in our own homes, to support clean technology and a cleaner future?
Oh gosh, well, I'm going to say vote.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should vote.
Yeah.
Read and be a little bit curious.
Okay.
Spend a little bit more time. Find your news feed for a couple of articles that are publishing about clean energy and clean technology and just learn a little bit more. Try and get a couple of viewpoints. Don't just go with an all the way left.
Right.
Think about what some of those benefits are. It might surprise people, but we view traditional nuclear energy as clean energy because it doesn't emit carbon. That's kind of our biggest decision point right now. There are challenges and things to mitigate. There are advancing technologies. We have 3 companies across the Northwest that are working on new kinds of nuclear power generation. You've probably read some of the headlines about some large industry that's going to be purchasing nuclear power or building new facilities. So take the time to learn a little bit about what does that really mean? What does that impact? How is that going to affect me? How is that being done far more safely than it's ever been done before? So definitely read and lean in and get a little bit curious. I like to say that we're not gonna solve climate change. We're not gonna bring great clean energy that's less expensive to the average consumer. We're not going to transform our agricultural systems with these new kinds of projects just by putting the pressure on the individual to like, well, you didn't recycle, so it's your fault. Yes, we should all recycle. Yes, we should all lean into that. But what has to change is that has to be the default easy option. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It has to be the easier choice to choose to recycle. It has to be the easier choice to come home with that new electric lawnmower because it was less expensive, it's lighter weight, it was available at my store, right? And I trust the batteries and the chemistry in there. And those batteries are going to last long enough that I'm not changing my lawnmower battery every, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They're getting so much better. So
Yes.
it's about those systems change. So it is about being a little bit more politically active or a little bit more aware of what things are. But we are starting to see some of those double benefits, and we're seeing these changes come across the community. I was in Vietnam with the state earlier this year. It was actually an ag tech mission, taking a lot of the agricultural products from the state and trying to promote our agricultural sector. But it was ag tech and clean energy together. It was interesting. But there's a company making new scooters, which is a very common transportation there, that are electric scooters. And it's a battery swap. You pull into the station, you swap your battery, 5 seconds later you leave, and they're cheaper than the gas-powered scooters. So their adoption and uptake is going to be easy. I can refuel it faster. I don't have to build a charging station. I don't have to manage charging. Working great in the cities, and that's where those scooters are used. So it's that same thing worldwide. Oh, well, this is easier for me and cheaper, and turns out I like it better. That's what it's going to take. So it's, be a good consumer. Don't buy something that's dumb. Don't buy something that's harder, right? That very expensive first adopter isn't going to get us there. So don't feel pressured that, well, I can't buy a whatever, so I can't do this.
Yeah.
That's okay.
When you think about it,
It's going to come to the point where it's like, well, why can't I? Of course I'm going to do that, right? We need to see so much more change. Who is thinking about making sure that our $400,000 John Deere combines are non-carbon emitting so that it's healthier for the farmers? All of these things have to keep coming and changing, and one person can't do that. But what you can do is, I'm going to go back to it, become an engineer. Become aware of where the clean tech jobs are. If you're not going to be an engineer, think about, how can I work in that space? My son is hands-on. He's not engineering, wants to work with his hands. He's a technician. So how do you work in that space that gets that done? My daughter's studying computer science and wants to be an engineer, but it's that, what are we going to do that's going to move the needle so that the rest of my community has this opportunity? So it's thinking beyond yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. And really, when you think about it, it's not that difficult, because we did all used to use a phone that was connected to the wall that only allowed us so far, depending on how long that coil cord was. There was not a lot of privacy, and now we all, have them in our pockets. That's just growth and change and progress. So that is a really great answer. Thank you for kind of laying that out for us.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, and we didn't switch to those phones because someone made us.
exactly.
We like them better.
Yeah.
And that's what has to happen in clean technology.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. Well, listen, I mentioned I wanted to be very respectful of your time. So I want to close this up, but again, I told you yesterday, I thought, oh, I wish you were my opener. That was the original idea. And, work and busyness and changes all, led this to be the closing, but I think it was perfect. And I'm so grateful that you came and that you were able to make the time for this. So yes, thank you very much for being our MVP. I look forward to, hopefully crossing paths with you more often and learning more and sharing more out to our region. But we really appreciate you. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much for doing this. We love telling people about great things coming to their community.
Awesome. Thank you again.